What you're looking at here is a Hyundai Ioniq 5. This is the latest EV coming from Hyundai for North America and other markets. When we consider the North American market, Tesla continues to dominate this market. You can see Tesla cars pretty much everywhere in Vancouver, and there are reasons some people don't want to buy a Tesla. I can think of a couple reasons. One, maybe Teslas are too common and people sometimes do not want to drive a car that's fairly common all over the roads. Or two, maybe people don't like Elon Musk. They don't want to buy cars associated to Elon Musk. And they look for other brands and other manufacturers, other EV makers. And the Hyundai Ioniq 5 poses the greatest competition to Tesla Model Y. So for buyers that are looking for EVs, but they don't necessarily want to buy a Tesla, they're looking to this car, or maybe a VinFast VF8. So what this means is that this is the car that VinFast VF8 has to beat if they want to appeal to customers that want to buy EV but not necessarily a Tesla. So how does the VinFast VF8 measure up against the Hyundai Ioniq 5? Let's find out.
Wozniak here, Tom Pang. I hope your YouTube channel is going well. If you have skills in one area, it's important to pay attention to the other disciplines that make a business successful. Marketing and business itself, just wanting to be successful and make money so you can live forever. I wish you luck.
So let's start with the exterior of the Hyundai Ioniq 5. And as you can see, the Hyundai Ioniq 5 styling is very angular. It's kind of boxy, and in fact, if you look at the lights, they are very square. And you can see that the theme of squares perpetuate across the car. If you look at the back lighting here, there's also a lot of squares here. So it is a very square car and very angular, and this may appeal to some people, this may not appeal to some people. And for me, I think the VinFast VF8 is a better looker. The VinFast VF8 is a more sexy, more muscular, and more presentable car than the Hyundai Ioniq 5. I mean, don't get me wrong, I mean, this car looks good, but I just don't think it measures up to VinFast VF8. So what we're looking at here today is actually a all-wheel drive long-range version of the Ioniq 5. And this is the top-end model as of today. There's another higher trim, but that's not going to be available in North America for at least another 3 years, according to the Hyundai representative that I've been talking to. So this car that we are looking at right now is the top trim for the Ioniq 5. It is all-wheel drive, meaning that there's two motors, one in the front and one in the back, and gives you a total of about 350 horsepower. And it's equipped with 19-inch rims. The charging port is at the back, right here. So to open the charging port, you gotta use your key fob right here, and you press the open door button, and then the charging port will open. So it comes with this particular charging port with this plastic piece that you can pull off, very similar to the VinFast VF8. Let's close the charging port here. So when we look at the build quality of the Hyundai products today, you see that the panels are actually lined up so well. There is no strange gaps or misalignment. Everything is so perfect. Again, Hyundai is a company that has been manufacturing for more than 30 years. So their quality control, their product quality is actually much better than that of Tesla or even VinFast, I have to say. When you look at this car in its details, you can see that it's actually quality made. The rear trunk is not powered, so there's a button that you can push here, and then you have to manually pull it up. And it does offer ample storage in the back, and there's no button to close it as well. You have to grab this handlebar and push it down. So So I don't know if there's an option to add power trunk, but this is the car that we have, and it does not come with a power trunk. Now let's get inside the Ioniq 5. So the way the door opens is actually quite interesting, because as you approach the car, you'll see that the door handle will come out like this, and then you just grab it and then open the door, and now you can get in. We get into the Ioniq 5 and then we close the door. It's all manual. This is a car for peasant, so we don't have automated door closing in the Ioniq 5, but that's okay. This is not an expensive car. It does come with the EV start-stop button here. Unlike many other EV makers, they try to do away with this button. Cars start by themselves as you enter the car, but Hyundai decided to stay with the traditional on button. So you push it, now the car powers up. And the very first thing you get to do is to confirm that we're gonna obey traffic laws and so forth. So one thing I really like about the Ioniq 5 is that Hyundai does not try to reinvent the car. So we don't have to change any habits as we change from a petrol car to an electric car. We still have the on-off button, and the turning signal is just like a normal turning signal, like any other petrol car. And I find that to be very, very comforting. Unlike VinFast VF8 or Tesla, they are trying to change this, right? And it does not come with a crazy steering wheel like the Tesla Model X. It comes with a regular circular steering wheel, so I don't have to learn something new. I can get into this car and then just drive it. So all the controls in this car I'm already familiar with. I don't have to learn anything new. Now, the Ioniq 5 comes with different driving modes as well. So right now, we are in the sport mode, and you can see the red accents. There's also the eco mode, there's also the normal mode. And if you hold the button for a few seconds, it will go into a snow mode, which is kind of important in Canada because we have snow here. Let's go back to eco mode. Most people drive in the eco mode. I don't know why most people want to make it last as long as possible. I don't do that. I just like give it all out as soon as possible. So we're gonna set it to sport mode for later. And the Ioniq 5 does come with two screens. They're not connected. It's not one single screen. It is actually two screens, and this one is touch sensitive. It does come with many functions, including map, and you can also look at your battery situation here. We'll talk about the range in a little bit. You also have a navigational menu so that you can set your destination. Of course, you can connect with your phone with Bluetooth, and it comes with all the standard features that most cars have. I do find the display to be fairly responsive, but I do feel that it's missing some features. It doesn't have Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, or maybe I just don't know how to turn those features on. And I do find the navigation in the Ioniq 5 to be excellent. I have no issues using this map to navigate to various destinations. The only problem I have with this is that you cannot enter an address while you're driving. So it does not allow you to type in the address while you're driving. It does allow you to say your destination, but I have never got this to work. I want to go to, see? Stanley Park. Stanley Park.
I still can't understand you. If you
Yeah, I don't understand you too.
the window is closed.
My windows are closed. So I never actually got the voice recognition to work. Another thing I like about the Ioniq 5 is that they have the traditional climate control buttons, and so you don't have to go to the display in order to change your climate control. In fact, I have these buttons. I can go to navigation, I can check out my media, I can check out my backup camera without actually going into the display. I can actually just do it from the buttons here, which I think makes usability so much better compared to say Tesla Model Y or even VinFast VF8, because again, I'm old-fashioned. I like to have these buttons, but everybody's different. Change gear, again, I'm presented with a very familiar control, and that is the stick right here. So if I want to park the car, I push this button here. If I want to drive forward, I go forward like this. And if I want to go reverse, I go like that. And then that will put the car into reverse. Or if I switch forward, again, it will go into drive. So this is familiar to most people. Most drivers would understand this. So how do I feel about the interior quality of the Ioniq 5? Well, it feels like hard plastic. This part is also hard plastic. And this is also hard plastic. This is hard plastic. This is soft. This is kind of like imitation leather, I believe. And I want to show you the seats. They're actually not leather. They're actually cloth. I don't know if there's options to make this leather, but this is all cloth. And the center console here, this is imitation leather again, and this is all hard plastic. So comparing to the VF8, I would say that the VF8 definitely has higher quality interior compared to the Ioniq 5. So even though the seats are not leather, but they do feel very comfortable. And in the driver's seat, this is powered, so I can move forward and back. I can move the back as well. And actually, I can make it into a very comfortable position. It can go all the way down. It's kind of like you're in the business class of a airline, and it does feel very comfortable. Now let's go back up. The Ioniq 5 does have ample storage. Of course, there's storage here, and also this thing's open up, so it does have some storage in this space. And this lifts up, and then of course I keep all of my camera equipment here, and this is where I put my stuff. And it does have two cup holders here, and in fact this whole thing can move forward and back. And one thing I really like about the Ioniq 5 is that, let's say if I need to get into that seat for whatever reason, maybe I cannot get out of this door, it's very easy for me to move over because there is nothing here, and I can easily move to this seat, or I can easily move into the driver's seat. So I think that's pretty cool. All right, so let's take a look at the passenger side. And the passenger seat is also cloth, and notice it does not have power seats, so this is all very manual. And let's look at the back seat. The back seat is also not powered, and it actually has very little amenities. So if I come in here, as you can see, you only get 2 USB charging ports and a little bit of storage here, and a little bit of storage on the door, and that's about it. That is all you get in the back seat of the Ioniq 5. Now, how much legroom do I get in the back seat of the Ioniq 5? Well, I can tell you that you do get a lot of legroom and a lot of headroom. Of course, I'm not a very big guy, but it's definitely ample. So the real test of the Ioniq 5, or any car for that matter, is how it drives. So let's take it on the road. Today happens to be a snowy day here in Vancouver. We don't actually get that much snow in Vancouver, but it just so happens today is a snowy day. And we're with the Ioniq 5, and this is a great opportunity for us to test the all-wheel drive functionality of the Ioniq 5. I'm actually parked here on a sloping hill. It's actually inclined about, I would say about 15 degrees. You can't really see it on camera, but it's actually going uphill. And as you can see, the road condition is actually quite slippery. And actually, this gives us a great opportunity to test the Ioniq 5 in snow conditions. And I have many driving modes to choose from. I can choose Eco, Normal, or Sport. If I hold the drive mode button right here for a few seconds, it goes into the snow mode, which is probably what we should use. We probably should drive in the snow mode. So let's try that first, and then we're gonna switch to sport mode because Tom Pang only drives in sport mode, even in snow. And let's see how that works out. So first we're gonna drive in the snow mode. So going to drive, and we're gonna take the car out. I can go up this incline relatively easily, and there is no slippage. I don't feel that the car is sliding around in the snow. It is four-wheel drive and it is in snow mode right now. So I feel actually very confident in taking this car in this condition. I would not say the same if I was driving a rear-wheel drive car, for example, in this condition. I would probably be struggling. And now we're gonna make a left turn. So let's see if this goes well. Yep, the car is very well planted. It doesn't actually slip around. And I'm actually going up an even steeper incline right here. This is about like 25 degrees. I'm actually going up hills, about 25 degrees incline, and the car is just very, very much under control. All right. I'm gonna do something stupid now, and that is to actually push this car into the sport mode, and I can immediately feel there's more power and the car is still very much planted. I don't feel any slippage. I'm gonna go into this corner relatively quickly, and there is no slippage. The car actually sticks to the road, and I would definitely buy this car for the winter in Canada because I feel very confident driving this in the winter. So there's actually one more thing I want to show you. I just did a U-turn earlier, and I just realized that the Ioniq 5 has really good turning radius. You can actually do a U-turn with very small space, like so. The turning radius of the Ioniq 5 is significantly better than that of the VinFast VF8. So now we have an opportunity to test this car 0 to 100 kilometers an hour. Let's see how long it takes to get there. And I'm in sport mode, and off we go. There you go. So my first impression of driving the Hyundai Ioniq 5 is that it has a lot of power. So right now, if I just push the pedal down in sport mode, I'm already at 100 kilometers an hour. So again, I'm pushing the pedal down, and I'm already doing 130 kilometers an hour. So there's ample amount of power. There's a lot of oomph. Why would you need more than this? I think this will be more than adequate for most people. On paper, this car has 350 horsepower, and it will take you from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in about 5.1 seconds. And there have been independent tests that show this car can actually reach 100 kilometers an hour under 5 seconds, all from a 350 horsepower dual motor, one in the front, one in the back. And compare that to the VinFast VF8, this car has less horsepower, it goes faster. This car has a smaller battery, I believe somewhere around 75 kilowatt hour, but it has longer range. So it really begs the question. This car is priced similarly to the VinFast VF8. It begs the question, why would people buy the VinFast VF8 when the Ioniq 5 is available? And I just tested the brake because it just turned yellow light, and I can tell you that the ABS kicked in, we stopped safely. My stuff are now all in the passenger footwell, but at least we're safe. The braking is responsive, and it actually brakes amazingly well on a wet road like today. The Hyundai Ioniq 5 comes with 3 different levels for the regen braking. So currently we're at level 1, which means that this is going to drive like a normal petrol car. It's not going to try very hard to stop the car when I lift the foot off the pedal. But in level 2 and in level 3, you're going to get more braking when you lift the foot off the pedal. So the car will convert all that kinetic energy back into the batteries. I don't like to use level 2 or level 3 because when you set the car to those levels, the car tend to be very jerky when you lift the foot off the pedal, so you'll be constantly be doing this as you lift the foot off the pedal, and it's not very comfortable, and especially so for passengers. If you have passengers in the car and there's constant regen braking, it gives people motion sickness, so I like it to keep it at level 1. Now in terms of visibility, I get great visibility with the Hyundai Ioniq 5. I have a very clear view of the rear by looking at the rear view mirror. I have good visibility of my sides, and also the car comes with a lot of sensors, so it will tell you if anything comes close to the car or if you're in an imminent situation where you're gonna collide with something. The visibility is actually really good. Now compared to the VinFast VF8, the Ioniq 5 actually absorbs any imperfections on the road much better than the VF8. The car feels very, very smooth. It's like you're gliding on the cloud, even though this car does not have air suspension. I don't think it has, but it feels like a car equipped with air suspension. And in the VinFast VF8, you would feel the bumps much more. You'll feel the imperfections on the road much more than the Ioniq 5, especially I believe in the back seat, because I do have the VF8. When I have passengers in the back, they do tell me that when the road conditions are bumpy, they really sense it. They can really feel it. But I can tell you that this car, it just absorbs any imperfections so well that you barely feel it. Comparing the suspension between the Ioniq 5 and the VF8, so this car is smooth. So when you run over bumps, it just smooths out the bump for you, and you don't really feel the bump as much. But with the VF8, when you run over a bump, the car actually oscillates a little bit, for a little bit. It's not severe, all right? It's not severe, but definitely this car is a lot more comfortable. It just smooths out the road for you. And also, inside the cabin in the Ioniq 5, it's complete isolation. It's actually very quiet in here. Actually, somebody did a test. I believe Hyundai did a test, and they were trying to show that in the cabin, this is actually quieter than the Tesla Model Y. And I can believe that because it is actually very quiet in here. I do hear the noise of the rain hitting the windshield. I do hear a bit of oncoming traffic, but other than that, it's quiet, it's comfortable, and it's smooth. This car has enough power to be exciting, yet it's very well planted. I'm driving this car in the sport mode. Even though I drive this car spiritedly, there's never one time I feel that I'm losing control of the car. The tires never lose grip, and I always feel that I have full control of the car. Of course, with most modern EVs, there's a big heavy battery in the floor of the car. Many EVs nowadays are all-wheel drive. So that means you're gonna get very good handling, you're gonna get very good stability. And I think the Hyundai Ioniq 5 really exemplifies that. It really feels stable, which inspires confidence. The driving experience of the Hyundai Ioniq 5 is just so much more refined compared to the VinFast VF8. It's faster, it's smoother, it's more comfortable, it's less bumpy, and it's priced the same, even though it has less horsepower, but it feels faster, and it is faster. The acceleration is just so much stronger than that of a VinFast VF8. So I think VinFast need to optimize the software even more so to give the sport mode more power, and maybe reduce the power output for the eco mode so that you get the range with the eco mode, but you get the performance with the sport mode. And by all means, the Ioniq 5 is not designed to be a sports car. So neither the Hyundai Ioniq 5 or the VinFast VF8 are meant to be sports cars. They're not designed to be sports cars. They're designed to be comfortable cruisers. But I can tell you that this car definitely has more performance and is more comfortable. And it's just a better cruiser. So when people think about Hyundai, back 30 years ago, they think about this very cheap car made in Korea, very poor quality, and people are embarrassed being caught in a Hyundai. And if you had a Hyundai, that means you're poor. But boy, has time changed, because Hyundai now is making some of the best cars that you can buy today. They're producing high quality cars, and their products offer great value to consumers. The question is, if you have to compare the two cars, why would anybody buy the VinFast VF8 in Canada? I know that if I am not from Vietnam, I wouldn't buy the VinFast. I would pick this one. But because I'm from Vietnam, so of course I have to be patriotic, and I picked the VinFast. But seriously, this is a much better car compared to the VinFast VF8. I'm really sorry to say this, and I know this will probably upset a lot of people, but it's true. Head to head, this is a better car. So I spent the whole day with the Hyundai Ioniq 5. So let's draw some conclusions about Hyundai Ioniq 5 versus VinFast VF8. Because for people that are not going to buy a Tesla because maybe there are too many Teslas on the road, or maybe they don't like Elon Musk. So for whatever reason, if they don't want to buy a Tesla, they actually have many options today. And the Ioniq 5 is probably the option most people are looking at today. And if VinFast VF8 want to compete in the North American market, this is the car that VinFast has to beat. So let's talk about range. Today I drove about 61 kilometers, and the battery went from 96% to right now 76%. We lost 20% battery, and that's 61 kilometers. So what this means is that this car, if you drive like Tom Payne, and remember, Tom Payne only drive in sport mode, and Tom drive like an insane maniac. If you drive like Tom Payne, then you will actually get 300 kilometers of range on a full charge. And this is on a 77 kilowatt hour battery. So that is amazing. So on the VinFast VF8, there's this 87 kilowatt hour battery, but I will be hard pressed to get this kind of range on a VinFast VF8 if I drive like myself. So what do I think about VinFast VF8 and the Hyundai Ioniq 5? Well, let's look at several categories. First, let's talk about the exterior, the looks of the car. I prefer the VinFast VF8. I just think that the VinFast VF8 is a more sexy car. So for that, I will give 1 point to VinFast VF8. What about the interior? The appointment inside the cabin? Well, for that, I still think VinFast VF8 has higher quality interior because there's just too much hard plastic in the cabin in the Ioniq 5, and this is cloth. And also these seats, the ones in the back and in the passenger, they are not powered. So I think VinFast VF8 has better appointments in the cabin. So I have to give VinFast VF8 1 point there. What about performance and handling? Well, this car definitely performs better than the VinFast VF8. We have already tested its speed. It does in fact get to 100 kilometers an hour in about 5 seconds. It handles really well. I drove this car hard. I have never actually lost grip. I have never lost control of this car. Again, VinFast VF8 is pretty good in that regard as well, but it does not compete as well as the Ioniq 5. So for performance and handling, I gotta give it to the Ioniq 5. About comfort and the suspension, again, I have to award 1 point to the Ioniq 5 because the comfort level while driving this car is just so much better than that of VinFast VF8, because this car's suspension will absorb all the shocks, all the imperfections on the road surface. You can drive over bumps and you can hardly feel them. But with the VinFast VF8, a little bump can actually send vibrations through the car. So I feel that this car definitely gives you more comfort, better suspension. So that I have to award Ioniq 5. And about the price, we don't really know the pricing for VF8 in North America yet. We know the price of this car, but I believe they're going to be very similar. So that is a tie. So what about after sales service? Well, Hyundai has established network across North America. If I have a problem with this car, I know where I can take this car to, and I know I will get service. And actually, I never had a single problem today while driving this car, and I drove this car really, really hard. And I really tested everything to its limit, and nothing broke, and everything worked as it should. So I think the quality is really good, and even if there's a problem, I know Hyundai will take care of me. VinFast is still trying to set up its service centers in North America, so definitely Hyundai has an advantage. So for after sale, I gotta give the point to Hyundai. And range. So this car, even with a smaller battery, does provide more range than the VF8. And this is not WLTP testing or EPA testing. This is Tom Payne testing. I just put the car into sport mode and I drive like I stole it, and then see how much range I get. And it seems like this car definitely gives you more range. So for range, also 1 point for this car. Also, if you want to charge up this car, it actually supports 800-volt charging, which means you can charge up this car really, really fast. I believe you can get from 10% to like 80% in under 10 minutes because it supports 800-volt charging. But even in North America, 800-volt charging is not commonly available. So even though the car supports it, but the infrastructure today does not support that yet. In summary, if I'm in Canada or in the United States and I don't feel nationalistic towards Vietnam, then I would pick the Hyundai Ioniq 5. But if I don't like the styling of this car, then I would still pick the VinFast. And in terms of how VinFast can match the performance of this car, I would recommend, boost up the sport mode. So give it more juice, give it more oomph in the sport mode. You gotta have a much faster acceleration rate in the sport mode, and also really reduce the power output in the eco mode so that you're gonna get really good EPA score. And I would do something about the suspension, because this is not air suspension, but it feels like air suspension. It feels really, really smooth, and it really absorbs any imperfection on the road. I will look at adjusting the suspension so that the suspension will absorb more of the bumps in the road and make it more smooth. And in terms of the exterior and interior appointment, I think VinFast already got it. I think the VinFast interior is definitely better, has better quality material, and it's also more luxurious than this car, I have to say. So that is my final verdict for the Ioniq 5 versus VinFast VF8. So take some fucking action and maybe find out more about this car, and don't be a fucktard.